Hey guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. So in today's video, I will be going over a trade that I took, and essentially it was a loss. That's totally fine. We still got in the market, so we're still learning. I'm super excited that, hey, you know what? We're still learning, right? And funny enough, the market did hit our take profit objective. And I'll kind of go over that as well, kind of what was going through my head this morning, and essentially just going over the trades. So yes, we did take a loss today, but we knew the direction of the market, and I think that's a win. Now, let's start on the daily chart like we always do. Perfect. So on the daily chart, we traded into this 1 hour fair value gap. Now, we had already moved lower on the daily candle for today, and I wanted to see us potentially trade into some of this imbalance right here, especially because we had such a nice run on Tuesday, had us like kind of this down close candle yesterday, and then traded into the consequent encroachment of this daily candle before moving lower. So we already traded into a higher time frame objective, and I wanted to see a small retracement potentially down into this imbalance. So that was kind of what I was looking for on the daily time frame. Let's drop down to the 1 hour. All right, so on the 1 hour, we already know we have this. We are traded into the 1 hour fair value gap. We do have a couple of areas of buy side liquidity that I wanted to see potentially reached if we did go higher. But we had this 15-minute fair value gap right here that I wanted to see the market respect. We did trade a bit above it, and I'll kind of go over that when we drop down to a lower time frame. But I wanted to see the 1 hour fair value gap filled in, and this New York PM session low relative equal lows traded to, and then but my first objective was these relative equal lows here. So these two lows, they're relatively equal. I wanted to see that traded to, and we did trade to it. So that is super exciting. Let's just drop down to the 15-minute time frame. All right, so again, we have this imbalance that I wanted to see filled. These relative equal lows here. And of course, these relative equal lows I wanted to see traded to, plus this 1 hour fair value gap. So we traded down to the high of this 1 hour fair value gap. Then we moved higher, trading inside this 15-minute fair value gap range. Then we kind of ranged around, went lower, and then traded higher for the open. Right before the open at 8:45, came back down to this order block, came back up. After the open, we took out these highs, and I liked seeing that. I didn't really like how we traded outside of that 15-minute fair value gap, but because I was bearish biased, I let it be okay, just because we already saw these London session lows taken out, and then this high was taken out. Plus we traded to about the consequent encroachment of this wick, and I was like, okay, we didn't take out this high right here, so we're probably still gonna go lower. But to be honest with you, like, the market action this morning was not ideal. And I think something I learned today was, hey, it's okay to just not take a trade. I think what was going through my head was I haven't taken a trade all week, and I missed out on a couple good opportunities. So I'm just gonna get in the market today. Like, that's kind of what was going through my head, whereas I could have just waited. We did have news at 10:30. I'll drop down to the 5-minute. But we did have news at 10:30. I could have waited for the news to hit before I entered a trade. You know, I could have done a lot of things, but I think just knowing and learning is the biggest thing. All right, so we had a very small opening range gap this morning, traded lower, traded higher after the open, take out those highs. I like seeing that. Then we had this kind of displacement run lower. I really like seeing this. We didn't quite break any higher time frame break of market structure, so I could have waited for that. And then we had news at 10:30, so we traded back up higher one more time, traded right to that high of the 15-minute fair value gap, and then punched a bit higher before trading into this order block here before moving lower eventually. Now I could have waited till after the 10:30 news and after this break of market structure right here, because this is like a decent trade, you know, like we have our break of market structure here. We had already taken out buy side liquidity, break of market structure, and then we use this 5-minute fair value gap to get in the trade. Perfect. With our 5-point stop loss, and then the fill of that 1 hour fair value gap. So yes, this would have been a better trade setup, and I would have taken it, except I had already gotten in a trade, and we know that I have a 1 trade a day rule. So that's fine. I'll show you guys on the 1-minute chart kind of what I was looking at. So on the 1-minute time frame, we had this nice move lower. We could have potentially used this to get in, but I wanted to see a break of market structure. We then have this smaller time frame break of market structure hanging around, and then I actually got in on this fair value gap right here because I wanted to see the market trade lower to these relative equal lows and the fill of that 1 hour fair value gap. Our stop was protected above this high, and I wanted to see the market continue lowered and fill in that 1 hour fair value gap. Now, a couple things I should have done looking back is I could have waited for that 5-minute break of market structure, and I could have waited for the 10:30 news to hit, because after the 10:30 news, so here's 10:30. After the 10:30 news, we actually did have like this nice displacement run down. We could have got in the trade on this fair value gap. Yes, it would have been a lower entry, but look at how we respect that 1-minute fair value gap much more. And it's right after the news. We have that significant break in market structure right here. We have, you know, multiple things. We could have even used this fair value gap really to get in the market. I would have used the first one, but you know, we have these things that we could have done if we had waited for the 10:30 a.m. news driver. But you know, hindsight is always 20/20, and unfortunately, I mean, we did take a loss this morning. And am I upset that we took a loss? No, I'm actually quite happy that we were able to get into our trades. Again, I could have waited. Again, the market wasn't the best. I mean, we did have like this kind of consolidation, you know, and I was just like, well, I just want to get in a trade. It's, you know, I haven't gotten in a trade. It's Thursday, so this was my trade setup. Whereas if I would have waited for that 10:30 news driver, we could see, hey, the market's wanting to go lower now. We wanted to take out that buy side liquidity one more time. And now we're driving lower. Come back up into this 1-minute fair value gap, and then boom, fill of that 1 hour fair value gap. And we take out those relative equal lows. And now we are continuing lower. And I mean, this is a much better setup, obviously. But the fact that we had already got into a trade, we did not get into this trade. So, you know, taking 1 trade a day can sometimes be a bit of a double-edged sword, because we see opportunities that we could get in after we've already taken a loss, but it has helped us with revenge trading. I'm not like in a rush to get into another trade. I'm not like, oh, I have to make my money back, you know? So it's kind of like, it's helpful, but then at the same time, we could potentially miss out on the opportunity. So, but you know what? We're learning. We still had that drawn liquidity down. We were still able to have a stop loss. You know, we didn't let the market run higher than our stop loss accounted for. So I think these are all things to be proud of and happy. Like, we used a stop loss, yes. We were able to see where the market was going to draw to win. And we learn, you know, we continue to learn. We learned, hey, maybe best if we wait for those news drivers. And essentially, we live to trade another day. We didn't blow our account. We didn't do these things. So I feel like even though we took a loss today, it's a win, right? But that is all I have for you guys today. I will be on the charts tomorrow. Who knows? Maybe we'll take a trade tomorrow. We have news at 8:30 a.m. tomorrow, so no 10:30 a.m. news. And yeah, I hope you all have a wonderful Thursday, and I will see you all tomorrow. Bye for now.